Yes, and we're back. Welcome back to Celtic Unrestricted View. My name is Ryan Clifford, and joining me on this episode is Alan Stirling, and Daniel's back with us once again. Well, KT is back. It's the worst kept secret in probably football history. But in my opinion, the world class left back is back at Celtic in a free transfer. Alan, 5-year deal. How are you? Have you got the champagne new yet? Or are you keeping it in ice because he's injured all the time? We don't know what's going to happen with him. But he's back, Alan. How are you? And I hope you're very well, mate.
Yeah, very well. Hope you guys are well and everyone that's watching's well. I don't know about the champagne, but I think that more along the lines of kind of Kieran Tierney's attitude, it would be a bottle of Buckfast in a Tesco bag. So I think, with probably the worst kept secret in the whole of football that Kieran Tierney was coming back. So it was a massive surprise, shall we say? But no, it's great. As long as I think you've kind of said it there, as long as we can keep him fit, as long as we can keep him playing, then it's an outstanding signing. It's kind of a monumental signing because you look, if we did, we spoke about this yesterday, I think that you look, if he's not got that kind of connection with Celtic, if he's not got the question marks over his head regarding how many minutes he plays, how many injuries he kind of picks up, then look, if that's not a question, then there's not a chance that we're able to kind of attract a player of that quality. That he would be going kind of a top five league, kind of one of the top teams there, as he has done with Arsenal. It's only a couple of years ago that the guy was kind of linked with the likes of Man City and Real Madrid, whether that was true or not, but it seemed quite serious when I think kind of Sky Sports News etc. was reporting these kind of stories. So we've got a player in real quality, and if we can manage him well, then it can only bode well for us as a football team and a club because the qualities and the attributes that he can bring could be massive for us going forward.
No, I totally agree with you, Alan. Obviously, Daniel, welcome back again, mate. Hope you're very well. And what's your thoughts on, like Alan says, the worst kept secret in football history that KT is back at Celtic?
All right, guys. All right, everybody watching. Hope you're all well. I'm good, mate. But I own Kieran. I think it's a fantastic bit of business for the club, bringing in a top quality boy. What Alan says, this was a guy a couple of years ago was linked with £50 million moves elsewhere. So if we can keep him fit and we can keep him ready to go, I think he already is. So if we can keep him fit, I think it'll be a fantastic move all round. And again, it just gets the fans excited moving forward because we've got another player in the team again who just knows the club and knows what we're trying to do moving forward.
Seen JP's nipping in his holiday. Hope you're well, big man. Remember, there's no permission slip. You're on your leave or so. I don't know why you're away, big man, but you enjoy with the
Sorry,
family. You enjoy.
the daddies are here. We've got a
The
third
daddies are
daddy
here.
now, so
Sorry.
the daddies are here. Don't worry. You just chill out and go set about your skinny dipping in the sea. I'm sure he's doing that just now.
Yeah, no, enjoy, big man. Some comments. P. McLaughlin says, morning troops. Plunge says, morning, lovely day. Katie's back. Don't change, morning troops. Paul Hogan, greetings from County Clare. And, well, obviously, like you did mention there, Katie, I think it's a phenomenal signing. It's going to have its pros and cons in terms of people going to think about the injury thing, and I get it. But, like you've said, Alan, if that maybe wasn't in the capacity of him signing, then would he be here? Probably not. And also the fact that he's a Celtic fan. But it kickstarts obviously the window, Alan. Yes, he did sign in January. For me, I don't know if he counts as a summer signing because he was already coming. So, but it does kickstart the rumour mill, shall we call it now, Alan. We're targeting wingers. The Fulham strikers partly coming too. So it's kind of starting to kickstart the summer transfer mill now, Alan.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know whether to count it for January or now, but the fact of the matter is we've kind of lost two left backs by the look of it. So we are going to need kind of Kieran's come in, so we're going to need a minimum of probably another one because I don't know if we can see the likes of Matthew Anderson. I don't know if he's ready and able to kind of step up to being a backup. So I would probably expect a bit of movement in regards to that as well. I've said a number of times, I think this summer's going to be massive in regards to transfer window, because we know this year we need to qualify for the big pot of the Champions League, and we simply can't afford to remain stagnant. We need to be on the ball. We need to be quick. We can't have any excuses, like we've mentioned before. Like, oh, transfers are hard. They take time. Nah, sorry, the excuses they don't fly. They don't wash with me. I know they can, but we should have been doing all our preparation, all our homework in the last kind of 6 months or so, and making sure that it's just a case of running down a list and we're pressing the button on whoever we pick, and then if that one doesn't succeed, then we move to the next option. So I think it's imperative that we get our business done correctly. First of all, it's not been ideal in the last couple of years. I think there's been a lot of ones that haven't really hit the mark, shall we say. There's been ones that haven't really, we'll still get the majority of Angie's team that have remained in the first 11 or our strongest starting 11. So I think it's imperative that we get our scouting correct. We've done our homework correctly, and most of all, we bring in the right players. But that has to be done in a quick fashion as well, because we know that we want to have kind of most of the transfers that we plan on bringing in. We want to have most of that team ready and prepared for this kind of massive Champions League playoff qualifier, because you look at it, it's a huge pot, and it just kind of it sends us further away from any competition domestically, because we keep building that bank balance, and that what gives us the financial power to go out and spend more. You look at last year, we had Almeida and Arnie Engels, so I think with this year we're looking for kind of we spend similar amounts, but probably look for more value in some of the players that we've brought in. When you look past with Rodgers coming in, the likes of Lagerbielka and Narovsky that aren't playing, there's Trusty. There you go, that off the top of my head, that's about 14-15 million pound worth of centre halves that aren't really playing consistently. And you've got Wales Gales that's been at the club that's coming in before them. So I think, yeah, my mantra this year would be make sure that it's done correctly but promptly.
No, I think you're right, Alan. I think it's got to be done as sharply as we can and efficiently as we can, and quality players. On what Alan said there, Daniel, are you in the same line of thought that we need to get it done quickly? If we can get deals done for pre-season to obviously
Yeah.
bed them in. We started well in America last year. We're going to obviously Italy as it stands at the moment as well. We're going to Portugal. So we've got a busy pre-season. So ideally, Daniel, you'd want the players in as soon as
Yeah.
possible, bed them in, and it gets you kick-starting for the playoff.
Yeah, just like that, to build on what Alan says, I completely agree. You don't want transfer sagas dragging on and will they, won't they? Celtic need to be, like he says, with the recruitment, have people lined up. If that's not going to work, we move on and we go to the next. But I feel like this summer we need to pull the trigger on some big money, because we've seen it over the years. There's been guys who we've been looking at and the prices have been bumped up, and then Celtic have backed off and went, no really wanting to pay that money. This season, I feel we need to, because, like Alan says, the bank balance has just gone up and up and up and up. So if you want to bring quality and keep improving that squad, you need to spend money. Players like Matt O'Reilly for 1 million, 2 million, whatever it was, that's a fluke. Like, not every player's going to be like that. Do you know what I mean? So if you want to make surefire quality in this team, spend the money on it.
No, I think you're right, Alan. Obviously, myself and JP and Alan had a conversation yesterday. A few people, and that was one of the topics that we spoke about, is we do need to spend a bit of money. Probably more money than last year to keep ahead. I think we do probably need to normalise now, Alan, that if it is Adam Meader for 9 million, who was, let's be fair, was second, third choice striking Norwich, we need to normalise now that the way football's moving forward and the way that the money's going in transfers, that we need to normalise signing £6 million for a third or second choice striker or a third choice winger or a second choice striker, that's just going to be the case. But I think that the money side there is going to be something we do need to flex our muscles with, and the board need to, in my opinion, go over the times again. They need to add to it, and I agree with Alan as well that the Maedas and the Matt O'Reillys, yes, they will come every now and again. You will get the gems now and again that can develop and get better. But I think, and honestly, Alan, in terms of it's either normal life, you go to a restaurant, you buy the best food. It's a bit dearer. You go to your Marks and Spencer, as they call it now, it's dearer than Lidl and stuff because it's better quality food. So it's the same with transfers, Alan. If you go and buy a bit better from maybe out a different market, you might get better quality in the door.
No, definitely. I think we need to speculate to accumulate as well. You look at what did we make for the Champions League last year? I think it was something like 46.3 million,
And
roughly.
I don't think that's including like everything else, the packages and hospitality stuff as well, remember?
So as penny, as we spoke about, as penny pinching, if you're speculating and accumulate, if the manager really wants a player, go get him. We've missed out on a few players recently. When you look at Kvitsgaard, seemingly we've been priced out of that now. So 2 years ago, when we were penny pinching to get this player for 4 million, his values kind of skyrocketed towards kind of 12, 14 million, etc. And now will be priced out. You look at kind of Lennon Muller, when I've said consistently about getting him in January, will be priced out. Now it looks as if Sunderland's coming in with 10 million for a Motherwell player. So I think we just need to. It's like you say, when you go to restaurants, we're not going to walk into a KFC and say, there's a tenner, but give a Muller and Carter T-bone steak, please. It's just no like that. We can't walk up to what that winger that's linked as well.
What's your gesture?
Aye. So we went in with 4.6, but they want 7 million. That's you're not going to get anywhere like that. You know what I mean? We can respect it. We've got our own value, these kind of players that we're scouting, but when there's that much a gulf between the figures that the team wants and we are willing to pay, it's just not going to work. And that's probably one of the reasons that we did bring in a striker to replace Kyogo. Oh, excuse me. And that's probably one of the reasons we've not replaced Kyogo, is because we've been penny pinching, and it works to a certain degree because the board have managed to kind of accumulate a massive amount of kind of profit and get money in the bank. But I think we're at a stage now we've got enough money in the bank. Let's see that money in the pitch as well. And if we've got a kind of elite manager at the helm, let's back him. Let's give him what he requires and let's see what he can really do. He's took his, albeit it was a kind of favourable Champions League, well, the new format was a favourable draw we got, but he managed to get us through to the playoff round and went pretty close with Bayern Munich. So give him exactly what he requires and let's see how we can go. Because I think when you're giving a manager like that all the things he needs, whether that be kind of finance and the players that he requires, I can only see the best for Celtic in that image. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but let's hope we can get a few of these players we'll be scouting over the line, because I think a squad and a team, there was a few warning signs over the last 6 months that it badly needs refreshed. I think it's maybe some of them are coming to the end of a cycle.
Aye, for me, Alan, I'm agreeing with you. I think there's some players that need to move on in terms of, you don't want to go stale as much as you want to keep your quality players. Some players maybe stay at a club too long and it's the same way of playing, it's the same player. Sometimes you need a bit of freshness, and I don't know what you think on that, Daniel, but I think Alan's pretty spot on in terms of flexing our muscles, refresh the squad. And for me anyway, Daniel, in my opinion is, I think we need a bit more than maybe what some people think. Personally, I think
Aye.
I've seen some people saying 3 or 4. I've seen some people saying just a few. The managers even said a few. I think the manager, personally, this is just my opinion, I don't know Brendan, so I can't tell you what he's thinking, but I think he's maybe putting that out there just in case we don't get as much as maybe we might need. I think he's
Yeah.
maybe saying to the fan base, listen, we might only need 2 or 3 if we keep the squad. That's maybe just in case we do keep the squad and we don't really add to it. And he goes, well, I did tell you that's all I needed. But maybe it's just a smoke screen that if I don't get back, listen, I've told the fan base that, so it's maybe all right. The fans might be all right there because I've said that. But for me, Daniel, I think we need, I think somebody, I don't know if it was Big Dom that says it, he said 3 or 4. I think we need 5 or 6 personally. And it's guys that are going to come in, especially off the bench if needed, because we've seen it in the cup final, Daniel. We were lacking probably in our striker, creativity up front. We need a bit of quality off the bench, and you maybe say 3 or 4 starters, but yeah, you need maybe another 2 or 3 that are going to be quality off the bench.
Aye, 100%. We've seen it. If a couple of guys get injured, then the squad, we do have a strong squad, don't get me wrong, but I think we've seen it the last couple of windows. We've signed a few at the start of the window, and then we've died off toward the end, and then it's became a bit underwhelming. It's been lackluster. Like, we've been linked with so many guys, and then we've only managed to get a few in the door, and then we're sitting there scratching our heads when a few boys end up injured, and it's maybe the squad is a bit thin. So I'd agree with you there, Ryan, that it is a case of maybe 5 or 6, 2 or 3 starters, but we also need to think that we're not going to keep everybody. So if you are planning to keep a hold of everybody, that's a really silly thing to do, because if somebody does come in with a big money offer, 25 million seems to be the magic number for the Celtic board. So if anybody comes in with a bid round about that, we're going to see players leave. So we need to be planning for that, because we've got some good quality within our squad who is drawing eyes for elsewhere. So I do think the recruitment needs a big step up, and we need to start getting in a lot more than what we're seeing in the window. But come back to Alan's point about left back. Left back's been an issue for us since Kieran left. So we need to invest in that, because time after time we're seeing guys coming in the door and they're just no good enough to be starters, or they're seeing constant rotation in that position. Obviously, Greg's managed to hold it down for a while, but that's because nobody's come in and gave him a good challenge. So I think we're linked with a young guy for Morton, who's a defender. So I think we might see him coming in as a backup. But yeah, we need quality in these positions that are huge for the pitch.
No, I agree with Daniel. I think it's definitely a window I think has to be done correctly, because if you realistically, if you look at it right, Engels is probably the only player that started just about every game this Michael that he signed. So the squad has maybe improved, but did the quality improve massively? People that would divide opinion. It just depends how well you like players. Again, I've said it on here plenty of times. I've said it to a lot of people personally. I think the kind of angle on Engels, I think some of the kind of criticism he's been getting has been pretty over the top, to be honest with you. Again, it divides opinion. It's just my opinion. I think he's a really good player. He's got a very, very high ceiling. And I do think we'll need to sign somebody like him again for that type of money, because, like I've said as well, Alan, I know we spoke about yesterday as well, see, in terms of if you sign somebody for the Bundesliga or somebody for a top league in Belgium or a top league in Denmark or Norway, you're going to have to spend a bit of money, because one, it's a decent club you're probably signing from, and it's a top league. So, and let's be fair, £10 million to us in Scotland's a lot of money, but to the rest of the world, it's a drop in the ocean. So if we need to go and spend it, Alan, then we just need to go and spend it, because you've spoken about it plenty of times as well. Speculate, accumulate. I've spoken about it as well. Danny's spoke about it as well. JP spoke about it. If you do spend a bit of money, you're going to get success on the park, but then reach awards off the park. People will be interested from. You might get double your money. You'll get people buying his name on the tap. You'll get success on the park, which then leads to more money financial as well.
No, definitely. I think everybody knows, every Celtic fan, that there is a wee bit more there that we can spend. I don't want to get back to the part with qualifying, whereas in years gone past we've waited until we've made sure we're in the Champions League before spending that money, where that seems kind of, as you said before, reactive instead of proactive. So, well, Well, looking at the kind of footballing world just now, you will get, like Daniel said earlier, the likes of kind of Matt O'Reilly's that it's smart, it's a lot, but there's no many of them that will kind of work out the way the likes of Dyson Maida, Real Hitati, or Matt O'Reilly has. A lot of them, you're looking at kind of the likes of Thiago Home, Kwon, Lewis Palmer. Like they're all kind of, maybe Palmer was a wee bit more, but they're all kind of along the same lines, how much we spent on them. And there's a number more like that. So most of the time, like everything in life, usually spend what you get your value, whatever you spend. There is some players that we haven't really got a value on. Even like last year, I'd say Ida. And then you look previously with the likes of kind of Barkas and a Yeti. These things do happen, but kind of 9 times out of 10, when you spend that extra money, you usually get your value for money. You usually get what you pay for. So I think it will be interesting. It is very interesting that we're seemingly open talks with 3 different wingers. I don't know how these news outlets say how much they're true, but it's, considering we've already got a number of wingers at the club, it is a significant amount of players that we're seemingly looking at. So we can only see how things pan out, but I definitely agree with you two guys that I think that 5 or 6 players is probably necessary. But along with that, I think there's going to be a lot of hard work to ship a lot of players out because I always hate to use the word deadwood, but I don't think there's many other words. Maybe players that are surplus to requirements, shall we say? That's maybe better. But there is a lot of players that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago on here. I think we could maybe rhyme off kind of somewhere between 12 and 16 players that could be surplus to requirements, that could move out the door, and I don't think many Celtic fans would be bothered, to be honest. So there is a lot of work in the outgoings along with the ingoings. So I think it's a balancing job as well. We need to make sure that there's enough players going out so that we can bring the quality that's needed to refresh the team in.
No, I agree with you, Alan. There's got to be a refresh of players in and out. I do believe that there is a lot of people like say Palmer, Lagerbielke, Narovski, no matter what I think about him in terms of if he's been harshly treated or whatever, the manager just doesn't fancy him. And I think it's been in football myself, he's a lot been in football lads as well. If a manager doesn't take to you, no matter how hard you train or how good you are, sometimes it just doesn't happen for you because he's not funny. It's as simple as that. You can maybe get a stroke of luck or somebody getting injured and then he can't no play you. But sometimes the face might not fit or your attitude might not fit, your personality, whatever it is. In football, it's ruthless, and if somebody doesn't take to you, then it's always very hard to get in the team. So, but a wee question to Daniel's from Don't Change. Is a 17-year-old prospect from Morton or probably any team better than Lagerbielke or Narovski?
I'm not sure. I would say with Lagerbielke, he's shown that he can perform, but I think unfortunately for him, he's had more risky. I'm not going to say bad. I'll say ropey performances than impressive performances. I feel like with Big Navrocki, I feel like he's been very, very, very poorly treated at the club. I think it's a real shame for him because I don't think he's put a foot wrong in a Celtic top so far. But if we're looking at this sort of left back role, I would say that players coming in with high ceilings, like you said, Ryan, if the manager just doesn't fancy you, if you're signing a guy who has got a lot of potential, with the way that football is moving now, clubs would rather spend money on potential rather than proving quality, and we've seen that with young guys gone for hundreds of millions of pounds and they've barely even played games. Like Rasmus Højlund gone to Manchester United, I think he'd only played one season with Atalanta in their first team as their striker, and he had a good season. But then he moves for, I think it was about £50 million, and you're signing that potential rather than that proven quality. So I feel like with Lagerbielke, I would take the gamble on the younger guy, but with big Mike Nawrocki, I think he's an absolutely sensational defender, and hopefully, I don't know whether Brendan or whoever's making that decision gets to see if he stays or if he goes, but I would like to see him stay and hopefully play a lot more than what he is now. But it's a gamble taking a chance on a young guy because anything could happen. We've all seen it in football careers, you know what I mean? But if it just depends on the position. But I think that boy is a left back, so I would happily take him in as a full back and let him learn under Kieran Tierney.
I think it's something the manager's probably looking at. Daniel is getting a bit of youth in behind Tierney, or if it's to develop him and then a few years' time he can develop. But the question is as well, Aaron, on this one for me is, if we're signing 17-year-olds from Morton, what does that say about Celtic's youth system? Now, that's, for me, Aaron, that's a massive topic, because surely there's a left back or a centre back or any position at the club that we can bring in who's 17, 18, 19, that we've potentially nurtured through the academy, or even signed when he was 13, 14, but he's come up through the academy the last few years. He's been nurtured through McManus, OD, etc. Surely there's somebody. If there's no Aaron, then surely the recruitment team, or the club's got to look at their youth policy and what they're doing. Is it coaches that need to be brought in for? Is it Germany, Holland, Austria, Australia, whatever it is, some different culture? Because whatever they're doing at that level is not working. Because if you're looking at Morton or listen, you can get James. There's a boy that played with. He played the last few games for Partick Thistle. I think his name's Jamie Lowe. The boy looks a talent. He looks really good. But he's come out of nowhere. Mark Wilson went, "You trained well with us. You look really good. I'm playing you in a pressure game." And the boy might play Thistle next year. He might know. So there is talent in the teams. But going for Partick Thistle or Morton to then jump to Celtic, for me, Alan's a massive jump. But surely there's a youth guy that's been in that system for a few years. He's already worked towards what Celtic are doing in terms of the first team level, as in the formation, the way of playing. Surely it should be easier for him to step up into the first team than going to spend the money on a youth player for somebody else. Or you might look at all the way out and you might think, no, it's getting talent elsewhere, like Daniel says, potential players, brilliant, it might sell you a few years' time, you might get you loads of money. But for me, Alan, I'm looking at a Celtic perspective. If you have to sign guys for 16, 17 for other teams, what does that tell you about Lennoxtown or Barrowfield?
I think we could discuss that for a whole different other podcast, to be honest. I think we've been saying for a number of months, maybe longer actually, that it's concerning the lack of the output that we're getting for the youth system, the amount of money that we're financing with Lennoxtown and now building Barrowfield, etc. And the scouting system we should have set up with youth scouts, etc. We should be seeing these kind of players that we're going out to buy. We should be seeing the likes of Lennon Miller, whether it be this other boy from Morton. We should be seeing that before they get to this age that we need to pay money for them. We should have the best scouts. Well, you've got two of the biggest clubs in Scotland and Glasgow. You're looking at they two should basically have the best chance to get any youth player in Scotland, because they've got the most attractions to bring them to the club. It's fair to say that a few maybe slip through the net, the youth scouts, but you'd probably say the majority of them, these players are showing it for an early age. They're not just having a breakout one season. Your talent's usually there early doors. You just progress that. There will be a few that slip through the net, but you think the majority of them. I think we need to look at the structure of how we're dealing with youth development or bringing in youth players, because it doesn't seem to be working. It's much more to go into, but you're looking at the last time that we've really brought through a player that's made a massive impact in Celtic or went for a huge transfer fee, and it's probably the guy that's just signed yesterday. I know that the likes of Tony Ralston comes in, and full respect to Tony Ralston, he's reached a level that none of us will reach. So you you need to applaud the fact that he's made a career. He's playing for Celtic and playing for our national side, but the amount of kind of financing we're putting through our youth system, we should be seeing players the likes of Ralston or Tierney or kind of Cal McGregor coming through relatively regularly. It shouldn't be every kind of 5-7 years, etc. We've seen a few that's left for pastures new with the likes of Ben Doak, Rudy Vata, aye right, Rocco Vata. You're looking at Liam Kelly, Daniel Cummins. Should these players have been dealt with in a different manner? Should they have been given some sort of contract or given a route to the first team? Because it just looks as if there's something amiss. There's something no right, because as soon as these players are getting to a certain age and they're maybe getting some game time, then they're jumping ship. And I don't put all of that down to money. I think that see if you went to especially the parents or the guardians of these players and says, look, we've got a route that he's got to play this amount of times in the Lowland League, he's got to play friendlies, he's got to play kind of get appearances in cup games. This is his route to the first team. If you gave that and says that it might be a couple of grand short, but we'll make it worth it in the long run, then I think a lot of people would be broader minded to see that and go, right, I'm going to get a chance here. I'm definitely getting a chance. So I think the way that we're dealing with younger players, there's something off, because there's nothing coming through kind of Celtic's ranks just now. There's no anything that we can take to the first team really, or kind of sell on. They're either kind of no making it at all, or they're making it to a point where we're getting a small fee for them because they're crossing borders, and I think the likes of Cummins was, I think it's 300 grand or something along the figures. So it just doesn't make financial sense. We're not seeing the fruits of our labour in regards to our youth development in Lennoxtown and Barrowfield now.
I agree with you, Alan. I think it's got to get looked at. Is it the infrastructure of what they're doing, or is it behind the scenes with the coaches? For me, I definitely think the coaches need to get looked at, because it's not just the coaches, it's what the SFA are doing as well, because the SFA are doing all the courses for all this as well. So that's got to get looked at as well. For me, Daniel, I think Alan's right there. I do think that eventually it's got to get looked at. If it's different coaches, if it's people who aren't at the club before, i.e. if it was Johnny Hayes, Daniel Day, or they guys, surely it's a bit of freshness, bring in somebody like for Germany, new coaches, Spanish coaches, different culture, different ways of playing that could help the team that might know. But I just think somewhere down the line, Daniel, you need to take a gamble and try and change, because in life, if you don't change something and you keep doing it, and don't get success, it's not going to change, mate.
Yeah, 100%. I would agree with you there about. I think the whole culture in the youth system the now is just completely out of focus, because we've seen these guys coming up, young talents who are playing a fantastic at youth level, and then they just don't have a path to the first team. I've had pals who have played for Celtic at youth level and they've just not enjoyed it. Like, they just say they would much rather go either elsewhere or just go back to some of them have actually went back to grassroots because they just want to play their football. But I agree with you about just a fresh look, because we've seen success coming through youth at so many different countries. Yet I think it's a problem with Scotland and not just Celtic. Like, we're seeing these guys starting to come through now who are playing at different clubs, and the quality's just no there. Like, Scotland as a the whole team, like national team as well, they're just something's always missing. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's never that one standout that we go, he's been coached expertly. Like, the one guy we can say that way is probably Scott McTominay, and he's came through English youth systems. So for Celtic as a club, I think we definitely need a fresh look, because signing these guys for other youth teams to come into our first team, it's no sustainable. Like, you need to have your own talents coming through, because we see it with clubs like Benfica. Their model is bring up through the youth, sell on, whereas ours is buy cheap, sell expensive, and the youth team's just disregarded. And that's how we're seeing these boys that we had, like Rocco Vata, Daniel Cummins, and Ben Doak, just no seeing a path to the first team, so they just take their chances elsewhere.
Aye, no, I think you're right, Daniel. You're spot on, mate. Obviously, the financial can come into it, but I always remember with Ben Doak, there was wee murmurs about him got Liverpool, and then Celtic started to play him at Celtic Park against Rangers in the Derby game. Why, like Alan says, reactive? Why wait until teams
Yeah.
show interest before you want to keep him or show him a new deal? Or again, we know behind the scenes and why this. But I don't think the youths are treated the best at Celtic in terms of pathways. I think they're maybe sold a dream sometimes. Listen, sign this and we'll do this and we'll do that. Either no guaranteed game time, Alan, but I think it's all down to the player as well. But the players got to be given a chance. You can train all you want at a high level, train with these players, but if you're not playing football, I don't think you're going to develop. And talk about young players that we're potentially signing, Alan. Callum Osborne from Fulham, young player, done very well, sorry, in the English youth system. I think it's 40 odd goals or something in 2 years or round about that kind of tally for Fulham youth system. Not played for the first team, but if you just go by some of the Fulham fans' comments, they say he's a talent. They don't want to let him go. They've offered him a new deal. Potentially, he's not back to go to Celtic. So is he coming to be the third choice striker and fight to get in the first team and Johnny Kenji's going to loan? That's what I'm taking it as, because why would you sign a young player to come in and be third choice when you've got one there already who you can maybe nurture and develop? But this could be a stroke of genius, Alan. It could be another Dembele thing with the boy he hardly plays, comes and he sprouts to be phenomenal. So I don't know how you take that, Alan.
No, I appreciate the cross border fee like we did with Moussa Dembele. That can be an attraction for us because we can manage to get a bit of value, shall we say, that a player. And when you look at the last couple of players that we've brought for kind of that age that have been at Fulham at that age, with the likes of Moussa Dembele and a certain Mr. Matt O'Reilly was there as well. So it bodes well if it seems that Fulham have got a decent kind of youth setup. So, and we've not really seen the boy, but everything we're reading is definitely positive. So I would see that differently if you're going and getting somebody from Morton for 50 grand. I think Celtic are taking advantage of the cross-border system that we only need to pay a limited amount of compensation to the English club. I think it was something like 400 or 500 grand for Dembele or something like that, wasn't it? It was something similar to that. So I think that is an avenue that we should take advantage of. I think that slightly differs for kind of going to Green Up Martin and getting a player for 50 grand. But yeah, it's just I think the majority of players that we are going to bring in, because we're knowing one of the top leagues, we're not going to know a great deal about them. We do need to do our homework. We're looking up the three wingers. Couple of them look like right prospects. The boy that's playing in Balish, I'm going to murder his name. What was his name?
Malik Belisha.
Aye, he looks probably the most accomplished one that you would say is definitely going into the first team. He's the only homework that I've looked at, which is probably limited because we don't see these players kind of week in, week out, but he looks as if the one that would attract me probably the most. So it's a guessing game for us because, as I say, we can't go out and spend the likes what England are spending. I said to you guys yesterday, there was that young boy for Olympiacos. I think he played against Rangers. He played against Scotland maybe as well. 18-year-old. He's just went to Brighton for 38 million or something. And you're looking at somebody that when I watched him, it looks as if he had a bit of promise about him, but nothing that would exaggerate kind of £38 million. So when clubs are able to kind of spend that on kind of massive prospects, then we're shopping in Iceland and they're shopping in Waitrose. You know what I mean? That we need to accept that. So we need to be smart and we need to find different methods of getting a bit of value. And whether that be, it seems recently we've been scouting a lot kind of in the Belgian league as well. I think there's a couple of players that are kind of there that we've been looking at. So we do need to find different avenues to be smart, to be clever. That because we simply can't spend as much as the other teams that we'll be competing against in the Champions League. And we have found success with it in the last couple of years when we look at the kind of Japanese market, etc. So yeah, it is what it is, and we just move on. Hopefully, if this boy's announced, the young guy for Fulham, if he's announced, we kind of wish him all the best, and we'll be looking forward to seeing what he can offer.
I agree with you, Aaron. It is different for signing somebody for the Championship or somebody in Scotland that's a youth player. This boy's obviously very highly rated in England. He's done really well in the under 21s, kind of under 21s reserve league. But obviously, Daniel, it could be a stroke of genius. It could be somebody that could maybe film. Maybe he's just not good enough to get in the film team, but he could develop Peter Rodgers. We all know he can develop players. We've seen it in the past, i.e. Dembele. He signed and then seen him. He didn't really play much with Fulham at all.
Yeah.
Came here with a big high regard, and then within a few months, he was probably our main man with him and Griffiths. So a lot of people are going to divide opinion on it. Some people will probably slaughter it, saying why we're spending that money on a youth player for Fulham. Is this all we're going to buy? We're not buying a striker now, and sometimes I think we just need to, right, it's still good we're signing somebody. It could be somebody for the next year or a year and a half. He's only young. It's a cross-border fee. It's not going to be mega money. It's not really a gamble because if he fails, you're not spending a lot of money on the boy. And if he does well, you're probably quids in, Daniel.
Yeah, like we've mentioned, it's a boy coming up for a youth team who is very, very high regarded. I think Fulham fans are quite agitated at the fact that he's been allowed to leave if he is coming up here. So he's high regard, but like you says, it's a small fee. So if he does come up and it's no that doesn't hit the ground running or he's no as impressive as he's made
Could
out to be.
Ben you mind him?
Great example. Great example. So, yeah, there is that bit of flexibility there. Whether it be he comes in and it's oh my god he's amazing, and he is like a Moussa Dembele, then it's a great bit of business. Or if it the other side of the coin, if it doesn't go to plan, then it was a small gamble and it's no paid off. So you either send him out on loan or you try and get a bit of money for him. But I feel like we need to, as a fan base, no put too much pressure on him. Because I see a lot of people comparing like we've got the players we've had up for the film system have been two fantastic players. So that's a lot of pressure for him. So we need to kind of look at it as if it's a youth player rather than coming into the first team. So because we don't want him to have that hanging at his head that oh my god, I need to come up here and I need to be the best. Like I need to be like Moussa Dembele. So we need to kind of watch that. But it is exciting, and I do hope that the boy, if he does sign, manages to make a big dent in the first team. But I feel like it's a wee bit of a sewing for your Johnny Kenny's, because although we've only seen glimpses, you would have hoped that Brendan would have gave him that opportunity. Because we're saying if the boy does come in, he is going to the first team and no the youth team. So it'll be interesting to see whether Johnny Kenny is bumped up a position to second choice striker or the boy comes in and it's between the two for third choice. So, but it's just one of the ones. We'll just need to wait and see what happens.
I think it will be that, Daniel. I think it will be. We'll see what happens. Obviously, mentioned that we've had a few likes to wingers. A guy for Anderlecht, 19-year-old, Baltisvisha, and obviously Ossagester. Obviously plays with Salzburg and Norway. So for me, I think out of the ones that I've looked at, he's probably the one that I think is probably the higher prospect personally. He's I got sent a scout report from William for the channel. I was talking to him about him and his opinions on him, and William's pretty adamant that this boy's really good, and he's adamant that we need to get him now, because if we don't, it could be another John McGinn, Lennon Miller, Kitz's Garden type of thing. William's scout report's pretty positive on him, and I would say if I was signing somebody just based on that report, Alan, I'll obviously give you it after this, but pretty impressive stats, pretty basically a Celtic winger all over the back, tricky, quick, what's to take men on. I've done a wee bit of research on him myself, but we've only got bits and bobs through YouTube. We've not got all the big data that i.e. Williams got, other guys have got in the scouting industry. But for me, Alan, he's somebody that we looked at in the January window, I think, or last year. If that's who they want, Alan, if that's one or two guys they want, just go and get them. If it is 7.5, like you mentioned, they bid 4.5 or sorry, 4.6. If they want 7.5, just go and pay 7.5, because somebody else will go and bid it. If somebody else wants him, they'll go and get it. And then he might be, oh, we've missed out on him. Look at him, he's flying somewhere else in Germany or somewhere else. So if the club want him, if that's who Brendan wants, just go and match the value. You're paid 11 for Engels, probably well overpriced, probably. 9 million for Ida is well overpriced, as we know, because he was going for 3 million, apparently. And the board waited and waited and waited. All right, we'll pay £9 million now. So I don't want that to be the case. If this is somebody who they want, Aaron, and they rate him highly, just go and get him.
Yeah. Just knowing Celtic will be linked with all these wingers, and it'll be a transfer deadline day move for Alan Forrest or something. That's the way it usually happens. So
a free transfer for Daniel Armstrong.
Aye. But I you mentioned the 3 players that have been linked. I think the Celtic dads are going to have a field day trying to pronounce some of them. I was having trouble. I ran out of letters with my alphabet soup this morning trying to spell them. So either I'm not going to murder any of their names, but the one that you talked about that William spoke so highly about, you say it, Ryan. Go on, you go.
Ossagester.
Aye, Ossagester. See that character. So he looks a wee bit, maybe no as much experience as Baris Wushka, whatever his name is. I think.
Just call him Mickey.
Aye, but I've got one of them's called Frank, one's called Genie or whatever. So I think he also Jester Disney, but we need to trust in William. William's kind of statistics with his true tactics is usually kind of spot on. We don't know a great deal about them, but if it's somebody that Brendan insists that he requires to make the squad better, then we've got a kind of elite manager at the helm. We're no all kind of tacticians or master scouts. We can all kind of see football with our own eyes, but with a lot of these players we're getting linked with, it's difficult because we're not seeing these players quite a lot. If it was players that we'd seen maybe in England or the Scottish League, etc., when you're looking at kind of Lennon Miller, then we can make a full judgment on them. But as soon as somebody's linked with Celtic, we're just kind of picking up the pieces and looking what can we find out on these players, which can be limited. So they all look as if they've obviously got potential. I think a couple of them have got kind of higher price brackets. So it's surprising that we're seemingly in talk with kind of 3 different wingers. These are coming from fairly reputable kind of sources as well. So as I was saying this morning, Ryan, in the chat, it'll be, why are we going for 3 wingers? Does that mean the Yang gang's getting split up a bit, or does that mean that we're going to consistently play Dyson Maida through the middle? Is that going to be his kind of permanent position instead of on the wing? I don't know. It's just we might not sign them all, but it is strange that it's getting reported. We're in talks with kind of 3 of them, and usually when the reports are coming out, it is a wee bit down the line. So we'll just need to kind of see what happens. But obviously, it's exciting to get linked with any players, even though you can't pronounce their names right.
Aye, I think I'm kind of hoping we don't see somebody that I can't pronounce, because I'll leave that to JP. JP's better than me doing that as well. So, but aye, Daniel, I think that's pretty a good point there that Alan makes in terms of the wingers, because it's obviously honest that they're targeting wingers.
Yep.
I think it's pretty obvious we need wingers because we might not see Jota till over past January. We might not see him a lot next year, depending how he's rehab and how this injury
Yep.
reacts to. Because again, I can only talk for I done my knee as well, didn't do an ACL, I done my PCL, but the rehab was pretty grim. He's obviously got all the best of care or the physios, he'll get everything he can to come back to be the best, but he might not come back to be the best that he was. He might not be the same player. It just depends how the operation goes, his rehab, and how his training goes from that. But Nicholas Kuhn, is he going to stay?
Yep.
Even Maeda, there's talking about Fenerbahce bidding for him. So 9 times out of 10, if there's interest, and we've spoken here about the 20 odd million pound, that seems to be Celtic's price tag, 25, 24, 26 roughly. If they get a bid for certain players like Kuhn, Maeda, well, I'm not going to say Jan because you're lucky to get £2 for Jan, but in terms of that side, Daniel, there's obviously wingers getting targeted, which would probably mean one may go.
Yeah, I think that is the case. Like Alan says, we might not sign them all, but the fact that we're in talks with them all, means that maybe we might see somebody depart. Obviously planning, I think in an ideal scenario, we bring in two. That way, it just covers Jota until he's back, or if Jota comes back and he's no in a good way, it means we're no struggling for options on that wing. But yeah, definitely it is a case of, I think we're planning worst case scenario if somebody leaves, if somebody gets injured, and that's why we're seeing us linked with so many ringers rather than just, oh, we're just going out to spend money. Don't get me wrong, I would like to see the money spent. Like you says, the boy with bidded 4.6 and it's been rejected. Now they want 7. Like just pay it. Because the reviews that he's getting are high. So like you say, we don't see a lot of him. So you've only got that to go off of. So, but yeah, it'll be an interesting development. But it is a bit ominous seeing us linked with only wingers rather than strikers. So I think we might see maybe Maeda through the middle, or that trust given to Adamida moving into next season. But in an ideal world, we do see a striker. I see Alan's face
Say
there.
that, man.
I think that's the feeling with a lot of Celtic supporters, but like, including myself. But yeah, hopefully we do get a wee flash in the pan striker down the line. But yeah, it's just about getting boys in the door and getting pen to paper.
Aye, and obviously, Alan, the last kind of topic I'd like to put across is, as mentioned, pretty obvious. Recently, is obviously a centre back, Nerowski, Lagerbielke is probably going to go. Nerowski, personally, I would keep him in the squad. I don't think he's done anything wrong to no be here, but the manager doesn't fancy him apparently, so that's always going to be anonymous as well. That he might not be here, but Austin Trusty's been a big one. Kind of spoke about recently as well. £6 million. If somebody did come in from, would you sell him for that price? Would you get your money back and buy somebody else, or you want to give him time? Good pre-season. Hopefully, he gets used to obviously the mentality of being here every week. You've got to win. You've got to win. I think Daniel mentioned it previously in the podcast that if you don't win here, it's a disaster. If you draw, it's no good. So you need to win. And coming for maybe a team that get relegated, or coming for any team that's no winning every week and no winning trophies, to then come into that, it might take a bit of time. So you want to give Trust a wee bit of time, or do you potentially feel like me, we need to sign 2 centre backs because we want to go with Vickers and want to either come in and take over Trust ourselves? Because I'll say it again, I think Liam Scales is a squad player at best. Again, that's not me being disrespectful. It's just me telling you how I see the game and how I've seen him performing. Like I said, he made 7 mistakes, in my opinion, in 12 minutes in the cup final. That's not a top player. It's not a top centre back. It's not a good player at that level. So people can come back to me and say, "Oh, it's because that's fine." Listen, it's all about debates. It's all about opinions. But for me, we need better than Liam Scales and potentially even Trusty.
With regards to Trusty, we spoke about it. We end to the season if we got offered that sum of money, 6 million. That's at £6 a pop, that's a million hot dogs bought off of Celtic. I'd take that in a minute. So, no, in all seriousness, I think he started off, we spoke about it yesterday as well. Trusty started off reasonably well. I thought he was playing pretty decent. I thought that he looked kind of fast, decent on the ball, but I think, as we said yesterday, the turning point was maybe the Dundee game with how weak he looked on the ball when you're getting pushed off the ball that easy. That's a fundamental, a basic at Celtic that should be that we're not getting with the strength of kind of signing money that we're centre halves are getting pushed off the ball. I think as much as anybody likes Narovsky, I think we all need to settle with this and realise that he's at the door. I think it doesn't matter if we think that Narovsky is prime Virgil van Dijk, he's gone. Right? I think that's just the case. Whatever it may be, whenever kind of Brendan doesn't like his trainers or he wears a belly button ring or something. I don't know. Right? It could be anything. But I think we all just need to realise as Celtic fans that it's not a discussion anymore. The two of them are gone. Lagerbielke and Narovsky. If we get an offer, the two of them are gone. He's ready to play Dane Murray in a Celtic Rangers game before Mike Narovsky, somebody that we've paid kind of £4.5 million for. I think if you don't see it after that, then I think the bubble's burst. There's no going back. Whatever's happened, whatever Brendan thinks about Lagerbielke and Narovsky, I'll eat my hat if they come back for that, because I just don't see. If we don't get offers for them and they stay in the squad, they still might make some sort of kind of get some minutes, but I don't see it being many whatsoever. And I think probably at the head of Brendan's hit list to go out the door, I think they two will be pretty high up because for whatever reason it may be, I don't mind Narovsky. I think he looked relatively decent personally, but whatever reason it may be, they two certainly don't have a future under Brendan Rodgers.
I think also Daniel as well with Dane Murray, if the manager likes Dane Murray and he likes his attitude and training, he likes how he is, then the boys probably get a chance of playing, or he's got a chance at Celtic, because again, I can maybe only talk for match experience. Some managers might have not played me. I might not be good enough, don't know. But they might have not liked me. And I didn't play
Yeah.
because of that. And I think sometimes, as much as people might not want to hear that, I think that's the case in football. I think if your face isn't fit, if you've done something wrong in the past, or your attitude years ago was maybe wrong, that might
Yeah.
stay away. So, whatever reason, I think Alan's right, they're probably out the door. But on Dane Murray, I think if that boy's liked when a manager, there's a possibility that he might be in the squad next year. And obviously the last bit as well, Daniel, I'll ask Alan before we go. There's a small chat, again, it's small chat, it's nothing concrete. If there's any weight behind it, there's chat about Chris Faraya. The Danish manager has said that he's got to go to get more game time. If we get the band back together, is it Tierney coming back? Is Aya coming back? I don't want to sign all players all the time, Daniel, because I think you need to move on. And once somebody's been here,
Yeah.
he's away. There's some more
Yeah.
talk about Edwards as well, and listen, we can't sign them all back, but if there's a possibility of Chris Faraya back, for me, I'm wanting to entertain it, because for me, he's a Premier League centre back. He's played over, I think, 70 or 75 games in the Premier League for Brentford.
Yeah.
He's played with Denmark, Norway, Norway, no Denmark. For me, he's an experienced player now. He's far better than he was when he left. So, again, I don't know if there's any weight behind it, Alan, Daniel, but I'd rather sign Chris Faraya than go and spend money on somebody that we don't know.
Yeah, 100%. I feel Chris Ayer's it's a big talking point, 100%, because I think a lot of people forget the manner in which he left the club. He left the club dragging his heels a wee bit because he wanted away, and at the time, I think Celtic wanted to keep a hold of him. So I would take him back. Like you said, he is a Premier League quality defender, and obviously his international manager's saying he's needing a move, but there's no guarantee that if he comes here, that'll be the move that his manager's talking about. So I feel it is a wee bit with the signing all players. It's nostalgia signings, definitely, but it's also lazy recruitment for Celtic. Like, these are guys who've already been here.
Yep.
Some of them have got no more left to give. So it's, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? Like, you're only signing them to try and get a bit of, oh, that's us back on terms with the fans. But Chris Ayer is a wee bit different for me. I feel like he is a quality player, but his attitude in which he left the club is one that I think goes under the radar a wee bit with the Celtic supporters. I think sometimes we forget the way some of these players have left. Like, they can go on and be better and play for better teams, and it's, oh, remember when he played with us, but don't forget how he left us.
No, that's probably a good point, Daniel. I think it is nostalgia. It is a bit of because of how good they've been, and maybe I'm like that way, Edward. I loved Edward. I thought he was tremendous, and I've keep saying it. I've said it in the past. I've seen people saying it on obviously social media that there was a small link to him coming here on a free transfer or whatever. Hear us about Edward down tools. For me, it's effing nonsense. The guy scored over 20 goals in a draw Celtic team that year. So to say to down tools, to score over 20 goals, Alan, for me, down at tools is no even scoring goals, no doing anything, no caring. Sometimes that's just the way these foreign people are. The French are always dead relaxed, and Cham was the same. And Cham used to sort about look no interested, but he still turned up in certain games when he was phenomenal. So it's not like he down tools. I don't buy that. People can debate that. That's fine. But for me, that's nonsense. To say that somebody who scored over 20 goals down tools, for me, is nonsense. But on Chris Ayer, your last thoughts on that of the show, Alan?
Well, obviously we brought back Kieran Tierney. Joe, I'd put them in a higher pedestal than what we've seen recently for the likes of Edward and Ayer. Edward's obviously had a pretty hard time with it. But we hired. I don't think it'd be possible anyway. I think he's a type of player that would want to go to a different league, and he's probably on decent wages just now. And I think at his age, I think you're looking at whether it be kind of Italy or Spain, he'd probably still be able to attract that wage. I don't think he's got that solid connection with Celtic that he would want to come back. He was a decent enough player, but sometimes he frustrated us and all when you look at it. I remember he was 6'4", but he ended up 5'6" when he jumped for a heater. Honestly, he didn't come off a run. And
Don't forget his Cruyff turn against.
so as much as I'm massively a fan for the likes of Kieran Tierney and Jota coming back, there are certain players that had gone. I think he'd maybe be decent. He'd improve maybe with centre half position if he's played alongside Carter Vickers. But am I going to get upset if he didn't come back? No. It'd be decent. Can I see it happening? Most likely not.
I think you're right. I think his contract no 27 or 28, so it's probably a long contract. I think he's still got on, so that would obviously entail money. Again, I think if you had Chris Ayer, Vickers, Johnston, Tierney, that's a decent backline for Europe personally. But I think that's one. It's just rumours. I think it's just rumours on Twitter, and I don't think there's any weight behind it personally. But again, lads, it's been a brilliant chat. There's been a lot of detail in terms of transfers, and obviously KT's announced, which is fantastic. The lads will be back on Friday, I'm sure, lads. Is that right? So we will be active. We will keep putting content out. If you do like the content, please subscribe to the channel. It is free to do so. It doesn't charge a penny. Your likes and subscriptions help us put content out. It helps us get guests if we can. It helps us do more than in the pub. It helps us do everything we can for the channel. So please subscribe to this. Please, thank you very much. We are on Facebook and we are on TikTok as well. You can get us on TikTok. Please follow the TikTok. We are quite active on that as well. Please follow us on that and share any content if you can from us. That will help us massively. But have a good day. It is sunny in Glasgow, so enjoy the rest of your day. Alan, Daniel, thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you very, very soon. Hail, hail.